We almost get to see a raging Highlander. This is spoilers.
Hey now.
Hey now. What is up, people? I am your host, Stevie. I am exhausted, but I am pumped to host the 1986 cult classic Highlander. How many we got with us tonight? 5?
I don't know.
Alright, as usual, let's go east to west and just say if you've ever seen this movie before or what your initial thoughts were.
So that's me.
Who's Eastus?
That's me. This is Brett out of Fort Wayne, and no, I've never seen this movie. I used to catch a little bit of TV show back in the day, but I don't remember any of it.
Didn't this movie come out the year you were born?
No, I was actually 2 years old when this movie came out.
1786, a good year. Brett was born.
I was at that duel. Oh, great Highlander joke.
I think I'm next. This is Mikey recording out of Elkhart. I've never seen Highlander before, but I kind of knew what the premise was. I knew that chopping people's heads off was a thing, but I've never seen the movie.
Choppy.
Yeah, a little bit, but we'll get that.
Yeah.
Hopefully he has good audio in the Audacity.
Oh, no. Josh, what's up?
Hey, this is Josh. I'm recording out of Goshen, and I remember glimpses of the TV show in my past, but I've never seen this movie.
That's insane to me. It should be like in your guys' wheelhouse of movies you've seen countless times.
So am I next, or does it go to you?
Oh, no. Go ahead, Paps.
Well, this is Pappy, recording from Denver, Colorado. Excited to be recording a podcast on Stanley Kubrick's 90th birthday.
Yay.
You hate Stanley Kubrick.
I really do.
This is the first time I've seen this movie, but I knew I was in for a good time when that sweet, sweet Canon Films logo popped up on the screen. And I'm so excited that you've established yourself as the Canon Films guy.
I love Canon. Pappy, for the people who don't know, give us a little history on what Canon Films represents.
Well, we go into it more on the Bloodsport episode, so I'll save the full description. If you want to hear more about it, go back and listen to Stevie host that movie. But they were a really shady movie production company that was in like the late 70s and 80s and early 90s, and they were responsible for such classics as like Superman 4, A Quest for Peace, a bunch of Charles Bronson movies, Bloodsport, and this. And they basically defrauded their investors. Like, they would sell movies based on the poster and then take like the small distribution money and produce a movie on that. So they eventually got like arrested and their company got shut down, and like all of their movies have this like pure schlocky horribleness to them, which makes them so fun to watch.
They are hilarious to watch. That's why I'm excited to spoil this movie. You guys ready to get into it?
Well, who are you?
Yes.
Who am I?
And what is this your first time?
Oh, heavens no. I've seen this movie. It's probably my 10th time seeing Highlander. I grew up in a household of bad cinema, which I was told was great cinema, but as I got older, I kind of realized, like, these movies aren't that great, but they are so much fun to watch. Just kind of like pretty much what canon is. But we start off in 1985 in New York City, New York, at a wrestling match with... They look like out-of-shape dudes. I don't know. Josh, did you ever watch wrestling in the 80s?
Yup.
I don't remember it from the 80s, but I thought that this looked like actors playing wrestlers, but when I looked it up after I watched the movie, it's actually full of real wrestlers.
Who are
they?
they?
All are.
The blonde guy is super famous. He's in the Hall of Fame. His last name's Hayes. I've been drawing a blank. I thought it was Michael P. Hayes, but that's apparently not it.
Doesn't sound that famous if you're drawing a blank.
No, I know.
Oh.
I'll just defer to Brett on that one. He's really excited to talk about the
No,
wrestlers.
Brett knows a lot about wrestling. What do you know, Brett?
I know that I can't think of this guy's name, but
What's the AWA, Brett? Because that was an was that an old, now defunct league?
Yeah, they used to
awful wrestling.
Wrestling used to be wrestling used to be regionalized.
Yeah,
into territories, and then Vince McMahon Sr. and Vince McMahon Jr. actually came and he bought people away, which was like really against the rules.
So pumped for the Vince McMahon biopic that's coming out. It's going to be so good.
Pretty much took everything.
is it really?
Yeah, I don't know who's doing it or anything. I think maybe Warner Brothers, but I think it's like
Chris
2018.
Hemsworth.
Yeah, that'll be good. That'll be good.
Chris Hemsworth should play him.
I could see it.
See Chris Hemsworth as him?
Sure, why
He's
not?
jacked.
He's got a lot of range. He's jacked.
He's jacked. That's the biggest thing. That's like if they had a Donald Trump movie, he'd have like a young Tom Cruise play him. It's kind of the same philosophy.
Oh, that's hysterical.
Lots of taint.
More taint, the better. But we start off at this wrestling match, which lots of hair. I don't think it looked that great, but the camera work's well done. We get to zoom in on none other than a non-standing, non-cheering Connor McLeod, who now goes by Russell Nash. Did anyone else notice that dude that just kept like hitting him in the side, going, "You should watch this. This is great."
Where are you going?
Did McLeod go to a wrestling match to Brood? Why was he there?
He was drawn by the gathering.
Okay.
But Stevie, you mentioned that shot. I think that shot's supposed to be pretty revolutionary. They had like steady cams hooked up to wires, and then like
They like
A movie
moved it
where-
throughout the arena.
what are you saying, Josh?
Yeah, the maker of the brand Steadicam, like the inventor of that, this is one of his first things, and it was actually computerized. And it's pretty noticeable when you watch the movie. You don't really expect that long tracking shot.
It really jumps out. It's like if that was today, you'd be like, "Oh, that's a drone." Would be your first assumption. But
Yeah.
Or like the NFL cameras on the wires or whatever is what it reminded me of.
yeah, it looks just like
But
that.
that would be like impossible inside an arena.
The camera work is really well done in this film. Some great, some not so great, but for the most part, awesome. But Connor McLeod is drawn to this wrestling match because of the gathering. He feels another immortal's energy and retreats down to the parking garage. Does anyone want to describe this this first fight with Facile?
McLeod. Fazil. Wait.
My only comment is that this is where half of the budget from that Sweet Cannon money went, and buying a whole garage full of cars to explode. They just broke so many cars, just busted out windows.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Not filmed
like-
in Madison Square Garden, by the way. Filmed in London.
In like a botanical garden type thing. It was really weird. I read.
The swordplay in this movie kind of reminds me of the lightsaber fights in A New Hope. They're very
Schlocky.
slow and schlocky, yeah, but they almost
Yeah.
always end in a head getting cut off, some kind of decapitation, which is such a good time. It's so fun.
Yeah, one thing I love about this is, like, when he's fighting Facile, Facile is oddly just doing nothing but back handsprings. He does, like, 20 of them. It's just odd to watch.
Did everyone see the handspring though? Because I read that's director's cut.
Yeah, I did.
That's what I saw.
Okay, so I wanted to make sure I didn't afterwards.
Brett, did you
They
see
released it.
Undirector's cut?
No. I saw the director's cut, and I think that's like literally the only one they have out now. But they put like 8 scenes back in, and one of them was him doing the backflips.
Out of all the scenes, that one?
No, I mean, like, her coming out and wishing him luck before he goes in the battle at the very beginning, and just a bunch of stuff, like little stuff. But that was one of them, and I think that's
It would have been a
hilarious.
funnier scene if they would have given you like a really good view of him doing the backflips, and you could have clearly seen like a young woman in those old person clothes doing backflips.
Definitely wasn't him, that's for sure.
Like if it's just a super obvios extra, that would have been really funny.
Did you guys see McLeod's face while the guy is doing all the backflips? He gives like a what the fuck? Because he just done like 20 in a row.
Mikey, he has that
away
face for
from him.
95% of this movie.
He's trying to
this
think
guy's
of the
accent is
English
funny, too.
word for all the time. That's
Yeah.
why he's always thinking.
Why is that, Josh?
That's the craziest thing.
He doesn't know no English, dude.
I love that.
Yeah, where's this guy from?
Everywhere USA.
You talking about
Chris Lambert.
Christopher Lambert?
Yeah.
He was
born
born in
America.
born in America, but he was French and grew up in Switzerland.
But they purposely put in a line in the movie that's like, what is your accent? A little bit of everything.
Yeah.
It's such a
Any
cop-out.
town, USA.
Talk funny, Nash. Where you from?
Lots of different places.
I read that that's what they told him to do. They were working on him to, because again, they could have molded his voice pretty much anything. I don't know.
They
That's
could
what
have dubbed
I read.
his
They
voice, and it would have been just as
Very
good.
interesting accent work.
Do we know
And
him from
Highlander.
anything else?
Mortal Kombat,
tried.
bro.
Mortal Kombat, dude.
Oh,
Raiden.
Yeah.
Lord
Raiden.
Raiden, where his English is
Lord
way better.
Raiden.
10 years later.
Looks like Tommy Wiseau got that laugh from Christopher Lambert.
Dude, I was thinking about that. Like, if you're gonna make a B schlocky movie, and we've reviewed quite a few, and they all have like American accents, like or the lower budget ones that get sent to us, but I would suggest to those directors throw in a guy with an accent because he's gonna say stuff in a weird, interesting way that just captivates the audience. Like I'm always waiting for the next mispronunciation.
I
or-
love your advice to indie filmmakers. It makes me laugh every time, but it's pretty true.
That's what happened in Bloodsport.
Yeah, Van
John Claude
Damme.
Van Damme talks funny.
He was American military.
The Room.
He supported the Giants,
Oh yeah.
Padres,
Both Giants. All
the Ravens.
Both giants in one scene.
Kid loved America.
But yeah, McLeod decapitates Facile, and he gets the quickening. Did any of you guys understand this right off the bat? Or were you guys confused as hell? Because this is most of your guys' first time watching this.
Confused.
No, I understood that they absorb power when they kill someone, but the quickening seems like an interesting phrase.
Yeah, out of all the phrases, they could have just...
It's like you're having like a painful orgasm after you kill somebody.
Exactly. It sounds sexual.
That's the way it was described on Highlander Wikipedia, honestly.
Really?
Orgasmic, yeah. Which explains a ton for the way that Clancy Brown handled his scenes.
Oh man.
I was super
Oof.
thrown off though because I always thought this was like a swords and sandals movie, and when the first 10 minutes or whatever is in New York, I was like, oh, this is not what I expected at all.
This movie does a ton of jumping back and forth.
Yeah.
Like, probably more than any movie I've seen, honestly, of like unnecessary jumping back and forth. But, this is like, whatchamacallit, my mistake. Chris Lambert's English really comes to shine when he is arrested and treated hostilely for no reason by all the cops.
No reason. He's fleeing a murder scene. He's an antiques
Bro, they didn't know
expert.
anyone got murdered.
Yeah, how would anybody know?
He punched a cop. He resisted arrest.
Nah,
Yeah, they could have easily
dude.
arrested him for that. I said that to Brittany. They're like, he's like, I'm leaving. Yeah, they could have arrested him for
Yeah, but
a
that
couple
was
days.
after they showed up at the parking garage.
Yeah, they
were in
showed
the
up for
parking
no
garage
reason.
For 20 minutes.
Obviously somebody called them. You don't get 20 cop cars showing up to a place for no reason.
There were like 13 huge explosions.
In Madison Square Garden in the middle of New York.
In
yeah.
Madison Square Garden. I mean, it's
This is
Pre 9/11.
Pre 9/11, exactly.
yeah.
Jeez.
That's just New York.
But Connor gets taken, or Russell Nash gets taken to the police station, And this is probably my favorite line of the whole movie, where one of the detectives is like grilling him. And for no reason, he calls Russell a
Whoa.
Like, do you guys notice that?
Oh, yeah.
Point.
No, but
Why is that not a
I'll say
point?
It's
It's
fine.
part of the movie.
I'll say this.
You
though.
review movies of rape, Josh.
I'll
I'm
say
just
this.
saying
though.
it's in the movie.
Gosh, what the heck?
Let's transition away.
Edit point number 2.
Nope.
No,
that's
you
all
get to leave
staying
that in. That's free press, baby.
Yep.
Go ahead, Pap.
But what I was gonna say was that, like, at least in this movie, when that's being dropped, it's being dropped by someone who's clearly a bad guy. He's ignorant. He's
like all cops
kind of,
in every movie.
well, and it compared that to like
And
the
real
Breakfast Club, where basically one of the protagonists says the word. Emilio Estevez says it.
Yeah.
And he says it to a guy who's like sexually harassing a woman. So you know what I mean? At least like in this one, it's done in a way where, you know what I mean? If a racist person says the N-word in a movie, that's not an endorsement. You know what I mean?
Right.
Right.
Also, this cop is about to punch a suspect. Yeah, I don't think that's part of the rules.
That was a great
I think he'd
dust-up,
get-
though, when he stands up and the lead guy's like trying to break him up. And after that detective like calls him the F word, because I can't say it according to Josh, whatchamacallit, Chris Lambert just goes, I don't know, in a very horrendous accent. I hope they shot this movie in sequence, because Chris Lambert didn't have a bad accent by the end of the movie. He just goes, I don't know. Are you trolling for some ass?
Why, Garfield? You cruising for a piece of ass?
His accent can't be bad, though, because they put in that line, his accent is every accent combined, or whatever.
Yeah.
So weird!
Lots of different places.
But, so this is where we kind of get introduced to the forensics expert. For some odd reason, knows a lot about swords. What?
No, that's just one of the weirder coincidences of the movie. That
She knows a lot about swords.
why would they need someone like that on staff? And like, everything about this is
CSI.
just, no, I'm not. It's just so funny
Yeah,
because
so-
it's like connected by coincidences, and he just happens to own the book that she's in too. Like, it's just so silly.
Pre-internet, though, you had to go hard into those hobbies.
She went
You had to
hard in
get
the
real
paint
books.
real quick.
She's subscribed to a weapons subreddit, and she gets lots of updates.
I love in the beginning when she takes the metal and puts it in the computer, and it prints off on those old printer paper that had like the two perforated edges with like the holes in it, you know? And it just prints off a bunch of nonsense numbers, and she's like, "Oh my god!" and runs off to Madison Square Garden.
Science.
This sword's worth $500,000. It's like, who would know that?
Straight million.
A
Straight
$1
million.
million bucks.
Straight
even.
cash.
Around million.
There's a straight. I thought it was half mil. That was a straight milli.
Yeah, that's what we all just said.
Not a cent more.
First of all, if it was as old as she said it was, it'd be worth a lot more than $1 million.
Brett, what's $1 million in 1985 to 2018? Go.
9.5 million, maybe.
No, get on the computer.
I'm looking.
All right, thank you. Do your research. But sorry, I lost my kind of train of thought here. But we get introduced to Brenda. She's pretty cool. But then we jump back in time to where Connor McLeod is living amongst the dustiest white people they could find in 1500 Scotland.
I have in my notes, suddenly Scotland, exclamation point. I was very pleased with this turn of events.
Suddenly Scotland. And what are his friends' names? They're so Scottish. Like, he has the most Scottish... it makes sense. Yeah, they're cousins. Dougal MacLeod and Angus MacLeod.
I got some numbers for you.
Please, throw it at us, Brett.
It's not as impressive as I thought. I picked July 1985. Is that good enough?
That's fine.
A little over 2.3 million.
That's it?
I figured it'd be a lot more than that, but
I thought it'd be like 16 million.
I said 9. I thought it would definitely be more, but
Oh, disappointed.
Inflation. How does it work?
But this movie, as a young kid, taught me that hoes ain't loyal. Cause
Jesus.
Cause Kate is, the
Hey, she turns
McLeods.
on him.
Yeah, the McLeods are going out to battle, which, his lady Kate comes out and pretty much tells him that she loves him. she's, going to ride or die with him till the very end. And Josh, describe this battle scene for us.
Oh my gosh.
That happened. It looks like it could have been shot at the Elkhart landfill.
Well, they hired a bunch of local Glasgow college students who were all drunk, and they ran at each other in cosplay. I was really hoping for some Braveheart-like violence, but it's really cheesy.
Oh, describe the action around
literally
McLeod,
no
though. That's the
violence.
best part. He's supposed to be this awesome warrior.
He goes out on the battlefield and everyone's dying in grit and blood, but like every time someone sees him, they're like, "Oh, not fight him!"
not him.
Dude, that was the one. That was like my second favorite part. He's like, "Why won't anyone fight me?"
In that terrible accent.
Fight me, damn you! No, that's gonna be kill! Fight me, you coward! No, not him! Nobody will fight me!
Just run up and poke someone.
Why won't no one
Seriously.
fight me?
He's like a kid at the playground. No one will share their toys with me.
Brett, I think
like,
you're
dude,
right,
they're
though.
dying.
I think Tommy Wiseau took his accent from Highlander.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Because a bad Chris Lambert sounds like a good Tommy Wiseau.
Yeah.
A bad day at Chris Lambert beats a good day at Tommy Wiseau. That's what I always say.
Oh, most certainly. And this is the battle scene where we get introduced to the Kurgan, played by none other than, was it Clancy Brown?
Clancy Brown. He's so gross in this movie.
Jackie
Yeah.
Brown.
Oh, he's
But
disgusting.
he plays one of the most beloved cartoon characters of all time in Mr. Krabs.
And a pretty hated person in Shawshank Redemption, but
Yeah.
Well, Mr. Krabs is hated too. He's always a dick and everything.
He is a
he's in.
crustaceous cheapskate. You are
He's
correct.
a cannibal. He serves Krabby Patties.
He's a lobster.
Oh.
Nah.
Yeah.
Nah, dog.
Nah, dog.
Meaty claws.
Big meaty claws. Oh. But this is where we find out that Connor McLeod has never lifted a sword in his life. Because you think he's this fantastic warrior, and it's so anticlimactic, because the Kurgan walks up to him, and Connor just lifts his hands above his head, like you're thinking like there's going to be this great sword battle. Like, this is what we paid for, this is what we came to see. And the Kurgan literally just tabs him in the tummy.
oh yeah.
It's like one lift, tummy stab.
He turned it though. It's pretty bad.
But why does he survive this? Shouldn't this have killed him because it's a Highlander tummy stabbing a Highlander?
No, you have to get your head chopped
or
off.
No, dude, it's
immortal,
all-
not a
yeah.
Highlander.
Specifically head decapitation.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
Sean Connery says so.
I forgot that.
And there's like 4 lines in the movie where they say like, "Don't lose your
If your
head."
head comes away from your neck, it's over.
Nah.
Yeah.
But is like McLeod's parents Highlanders, or why is he just...
The source naturally randomly chooses who's going to be immortal.
It's Star Wars, Mikey.
It depends on how many midichlorians you have.
Gotcha. Midichlorians.
Yes. But Brett is right. After he turns the sword, this is like one of 3 times this happened where Angus, Dougal, and the other McLeods tackle the Kurg away before he can chop off his head. And shouting like away as he's being dragged away, all you hear is, "Another time, McLeod! Another time, McLeod!" Fantastic writing this is. And I forget, do we go back to New York after this, or we just keep in Scotland?
I think it cuts back to New York.
I know, but that's not interesting to me at all. So I think
Just stay in Scotland.
I'm just gonna stay in Scotland. These are more of my favorite parts.
It stays there for a while.
Scotland? Yeah.
Yeah.
So we realize that Connor is alive. Everybody's at a bar, real freaked out. Pappy, give us the rundown on this.
Yeah, so Connor walks into a bar and then everyone kind of like shades their heads away from him. And they instantly assume that he is in league with Satan. And they won't drink with him. And then they throw him in like a stockade thing, like I don't know what you'd call that, like an oxbow type contraption, and they're gonna burn.
What's
him.
it called? A pillory? It's called a pillory, isn't it?
I don't know.
Oxbow,
it's shaped like an oxbow. It's got the lines in the circle, but then they kick him. Well, they gotta burn him, and then one of his cousins saves him, and they kick him out of town, and then the movie doesn't
Passion
give
of the
any
Christ.
indication of this, but it leaps forward 5 years in time, and it's very confusing. But he has a new wife now.
Yeah, because Kate was the first one to turn on him. Like, his lady
real
turned
quick.
the whole village against him when he
Was
was
that his lady?
alive. Yeah, that was Lady Kate.
I read that was supposed to be his cousin.
No, that's why I said Jose ain't
No.
loyal.
No.
I didn't know.
The men are his cousins.
cousin had the whole crowd quieted down, and everything was about to subside. And then she just totally incites things again. No, he's a devil!
I didn't know she was his wife until I read about it afterwards, so I'm with Pappy on that one. I thought she was just some girl who was in love with him.
I found it surprising they wouldn't assume it's a miracle, and they instantly go to devil. Especially because they show that priest guy early on.
In Scotland.
Yeah.
In hindsight, though, that woman gets... she doesn't have to have feelings for him when he doesn't age, and she does. She has the smartest reaction to it, if you think about it.
Speaking of that, not to jump ahead too far, but we mentioned this new wife. There's a point where she's older, and she asks him, "Why didn't you age?" And he's like, "Because I never stopped loving you." I'm like, so she aged
Why
because
didn't you
she did
leave?
stop loving you? Like,
She said, why
that's
didn't
a
you
shitty thing to
leave?
say. Oh, no, she said, no, she definitely says, why did you stop age? And
Are
he
you
says,
sure?
because I never stopped loving you.
I watched it with subtitles.
I did too. I just watched it.
Rewind it.
I'm with Brett and
I'm
Stevie
with Brett
on
on this one, man.
I'll let you know when it comes up right now in this movie.
I stand with Brett.
Hashtag I stand with Brett.
I don't know. I wasn't
I'm with him.
paying too close of attention.
Oh, well, after he's living a new life in Scotland. And yeah, there's some stuff in New York, like he's an antiques dealer, and he lives in this awesome apartment, and he's super wealthy, and he's trying to get set up by Brenda, but that's not interesting, so going back to Scotland. And so, we're introduced to one of the greatest short-lived characters in cinema history. Mikey, who is it?
I don't know.
Mikey.
Mikey!
I don't know. Who is it?
How do you not know?
How do you not know?
Because I was kind of half watching this movie.
He was called a haggis like 10 times.
It's Sean Connery in brown face.
Yeah, Sean Connery is a Spaniard.
No, he's an Egyptian.
Oh, an Egyptian, you're right.
Is that racist? Is that...
No.
Didn't he play a Greek dude in Time Bandits?
Yeah, but, I mean, Time Bandits is, above criticism.
And it's historically accurate.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but it's Sean Connery, and he's dressed like a Spaniard, and he just kind of drops in out of nowhere, and I guess he just decides he wants to teach McLeod how to be a Highlander. I don't know why he doesn't try to kill him at first, but he even specifically says there can only be one. So he said if it's down to us two, he would eventually try to kill him. I don't know.
What happened was, Mikey,
Sean
was the
Connery's.
Immortals had no animosity towards each other. They were like, I want to say they're like superior than just being like Neanderthals. But then the Kurgan came along and started killing everybody and gaining their powers. And I think Sean Connery was like trying to train him for it.
But
Being
the calling was always going to happen, though, right? Like
The gathering was always going to happen.
The gathering, yeah.
Yeah,
They're going to have to fight eventually.
Eventually, so I think he was just getting him ready for it. Like, he's going to be the one.
So they have to gather so that they can all orgasm.
It's like
together.
Fortnite, the circle.
So they can all quicken together.
It's strange, though, that all of these immortals are being born at different times. Like, the older immortals seem to definitely have a leg
Yeah, there's
up.
no rhyme or reason.
And it seems like they absorb the powers of the other immortals that they kill. I don't know if that's confirmed.
And the knowledge.
I guess.
I don't think so. There's
It's not clear.
That's
payoff.
canon, bruh.
I was thinking...
which Highlander had extensive antique knowledge?
I was
that
thinking
you
back on this
absorbed.
part of the movie, and I thought that maybe it was like they're just getting a taste of what the quote prize is at the end, which is also really weird.
Can I just say, though?
Is that ever explained?
I love this mythology. I love it so much.
It's so patchworky. There's a lot of pieces
Well, you're
missing.
an immortal, I'm an immortal, and long time from now you're going to have to fight another guy.
There can only be one.
Brett, did you read that like it was some college kid came up with it or something? Like it was some thesis?
The story, I know it was a story by somebody who like didn't have anything to do with the movie really, so sounds about right.
I think it was like literally like a college project, and it got kind of worked into this because I'm sure Canon wanted to pay like $3.99 for a script, and that's how they did that.
You're hired! But yeah, so Juan Sanchez Villalobos Ramirez, played by Sean Connery, shows up looking rather flamboyant and awesome. And he explains all the rules to Connor, and he has this great scene where he takes Connor out on water, and apparently when you live in Scotland, you don't learn how to swim. And he purposely tries to drown him. Connor realizes he's immortal, and
I'm a Scotsman, not a fish, damn it.
And they become
Wait.
best friends.
Did you guys notice that part where Sean Connery is like caught on film taking cocaine, I think?
I think that was part of his character.
What was it, Josh?
Either way, I thought that was really odd in the middle of the movie. He like snorts something really quick.
That's like
on the boat.
That's like a bit they do
got a snuff box
for like, people around that time. Like snuff, yeah.
Did anybody read the story about how Sean Connery almost literally got decapitated during the movie?
We're getting there.
Okay.
We're getting there. So after an amazing training montage, anyone have any things to add on that? Because the camera work is beautiful.
I just want to say one thing. Sean Connery's running is my new religion. Just the way he's so out of shape. He's such an out of shape old man who smokes cigars and drinks liquor all day long. And just to see him try and like jog next to what's his name? Christopher Lambert is so funny to me.
McCloud, come on! I feel him! Come
Oh yeah, it's fantastic. And so, did everyone's homes look like that in Scotland? Because they now live in a castle.
Yeah, they must have.
It looks awesome.
They live in like a clock tower or something.
It's like a
tower defense.
It's like a chess piece.
Yeah.
So, throughout this, Juan Sanchez Villalobos Ramirez is telling our Connor McLeod that, listen, like, Heather's cool and all, but she's not that cool. Like, this isn't going to work the way you want it to. And so, for some odd reason, in the middle of the night, it's just Juan Ramirez and Heather. And where is Connor?
Yeah, that's weird. That's weird.
It's never explained where Connor is. It's just said he's away.
Has to be a deleted scene or something, right?
Like, he's going to hunt sheep?
I would
Like, he's going to make
so.
haggis? Like, I don't know.
He's going to grind for XP out in the wilderness.
Going to build the character out.
It's harvesting.
He's doing side quests.
So, Brett, you mentioned it that Sean Connery almost died. What happens in the following scenes where it's just Juan Ramirez and Heather?
Connery's putting on his best. He's putting some game on her. I really thought they were going to hook up. I thought it was going to be like some dirty trick he was playing. And then the Kirk just busts through the wall. And apparently he was supposed to go right in and break the table in half, but he swung at the candelabra instead, where Sean Connery's head was. And he had to duck out of the way because he almost took his head off, which would have been the most ironic, unfortunate thing ever in a movie that is about decapitation.
So throughout these scenes,
would they have kept that take? They would have.
What
kept
happens
that
to Juan
take.
Ramirez, Brett?
Had to have. He kind of takes it to the court for a while.
Almost got him.
Yeah, he did almost get him. He got a little cocky. He was talking a little smack.
Cut his throat.
Yeah, he jacked him up early. Like, the first time he saw him, Korg's like, I'm the strongest, and like, I'm gonna slit your throat. Then he stabbed
the voice for you.
Then he stabbed him a few times, and then the house started falling apart for some reason. And then it was like just the most perfect little staircase up into the sky. And then he cuts his head off.
Tonight you sleep in hell. There can be only one!
Did he hold off on cutting off the big guy's head because McLeod is supposed to do it? Because he had
that's a good question. I was thinking the same thing. Other than I said, well, that's in the script. But other than that, I don't know.
He slices his neck, and then he could have just ran up to him. And
I don't even understand the nature of their relationship. Like, aren't they gonna have to kill each other eventually? Why is he helping the Highlander?
They're best friends.
Why?
They just met 2 days ago. Of course they're best friends.
They're definitely not best friends. They
train together.
Dude, they just had a Rocky III training montage. Definitely best friends.
Yeah.
They ran to the top of that mountain and swung swords at each other.
Well, the Highlander is also friends with the Black Highlander guy back in the city. Then they meet up.
He's just a Highlander, Josh.
Yeah, that was extra awkward because they were literally at the gathering and they were going to have to kill each other.
I don't understand the joke. I don't even get it.
Well, they talk about partying together too, but that's what I'm saying. Like, but why would Sean Connery help him level up in combat? Does he have an obligation to do that?
Because I think
prophecy?
Because I think the Kurgan and Ramirez have run into each other before and realizes he can't beat him.
Oh,
he wants to find someone that can, and that's when he comes across Connor.
So they're forming a temporary alliance to defeat.
Right, because there's that scene when they're training where Connor defeats Ramirez and he has a sword to his throat, and you're like, is he going to kill this dude right now?
Yeah, that was weird.
Yeah,
that makes sense. Thanks.
Do you guys think there can only be one is kind of like the Sith rule of two?
I was thinking that the exact same time.
Because the Sith always have to eventually kill their master or something. It's just kind of similar lore.
Too similar.
Probably.
But also, before we move on, Stevie, what else happens at that building?
What building?
After Sean Connery dies.
You don't find out till later, though.
Yeah, it sucks. It's sadness. Especially with how,
It's weird that you'd pick a movie with this in it.
Ooh.
I know.
It's sick. It's sick.
I just totally forgot about that.
Clap back.
Man.
It's sick.
Sold my own poison.
What happens?
We'll get to it. But we get back to New York. The Kurgan is there now. The gathering is bringing all the immortals closer together. And the Kurgan goes after...
God damn it. Hold on.
That's the Kurgan now.
Mikey, are you making smoothies?
Water heater again?
Yeah.
Mikey tried to fight on holy ground, and that's what happened.
I am that, my love.
Pappy wanted to find this so badly.
I've never really known
what?
why you stayed.
Why you stayed?
Again?
Why you stayed?
Whatever.
It's like the Patty Mayonnaise thing all over again.
It sounds like why you didn't age.
Why did you age? I remember I told you I'm immortal. Oh, yeah.
That's why I thought it was so weird.
Till I forgot
Remember
that on my
that whole
50th.
thing?
God.
Just a little kind
I
of
watched
magic.
this movie twice and heard that distinctly both times.
With closed captioning on.
Yes.
With
Yes,
subtitles
closed
on.
captioning.
Stevie, my favorite part of the whole movie is coming up, and it's in New York, unfortunately, but if you talk about it, I'll get to it.
Okay, well, let me know if I skip over it. Just interrupt
You will.
me.
It's so small. It's so stupid.
Oh, well, I have like weird favorite parts that just make me smile. But Kurgan goes after Russell Nash, aka Connor McLeod, and Brenda. Once again, we have, because long story short, they're like fighting throughout the city, and then the police helicopter shows up, and once again we get another time McLeod, which I really wanted more of those.
My favorite part is literally right what you're talking about.
Okay,
but not that part.
go.
I don't know why it cracked up when the cops like, yeah, put your swords down. They just run away. They're like, hey, where you going? Stop moving.
So
Oh my gosh, I was dying.
He's so useless.
Hey
It's like a
guys,
South
get on
Park.
back here.
Yeah, where you going? I mean, it's like,
Put down your weapons. Put your hands on your head.
Another time, Highlander. I will find you.
Hey, hold it right there. Come back here.
it seemed like a joke. Like, well, obviously it was bad acting, but that cracked me up. It's like a South Park episode.
That dude was like barely holding onto the helicopter, just trying to say any line he could.
Hey,
stop! Where you going?
that was probably such an unsafe stunt too. That helicopter was probably so shady and everything around it.
John Landis, the special.
I was just gonna say, hoping to get Landis. Too soon?
No, it's just enough. Also, the Kurgan is like, he's checked in at this really seedy hotel that just offers blow and hookers on demand. And I love it. I like how you're getting kind of hyped for the Kurgan, where he's just in his hotel room putting a sword together and twirling it around him.
Yeah, that's a great scene.
That is a phenomenal scene. And then enters Hooker. Like,
Candy.
If you
Candy,
juxtapose that against like No Country for Old Men, kind of has some similar scenes with weapons in hotel rooms. It's just so funny.
I wasn't gonna
It's
say
like a
it
Nerf
because
sword
Yeah.
playing together.
I wasn't gonna say it because you guys are dumb and you don't like the movie Terminator, but you cannot tell me that at least a couple shots were not directly inspired by. Pep, you've only seen it once, and Stevie hates it, but
I don't hate it. I just don't think it's great.
when he
I was
walks
thinking
into the
Terminator the whole
hotel,
time. Yeah.
and when he walks into the hotel, the camera's really low, pointed up at him. His face is all like super dark,
It makes him look huge. Yeah.
and it's got that little. It's like literally almost the same music of the Terminator. Plus, in Terminator, he's in his hotel room loading up all of his guns. I mean, he seemed like he was really like inspired by that. And
Well,
that
the
was
other way around, right? Or what came
no,
first?
Terminator was 84.
Okay. Well, it probably I'm sure you ripped him off then.
I'm just saying. I'm not saying he ripped. I'm just saying I think he was inspired by it. But go ahead. I didn't know if anybody else would have noticed that.
Good call. I didn't notice that at all. So, this movie jumps around so much, it's hard to keep track of.
I think the scene that kind of bridges a gap in here is a scene where, like, he doesn't kill a bystander, but he, like, stabs him through and lifts him up. And there's, like, a huge, like, explosion in the city and everyone sees Kurgan. I think that's, like, a connecting piece.
Yeah, that's where that dude shot him. Why'd that guy follow him?
He's like a vigilante.
What the hell?
Okay, Marine. This is for real. Let's go. Go. Come on. What the hell's going on?
So,
Yeah, the Marine, crazy Marine.
yeah, tries to kill the Kurgan. After the Kurgan kills, as Josh put it, Black Highlander, but he had a name.
As Josh calls him.
Let me see here. Castigar.
I just wanted to talk about the scene where the grandma's in the car with the roof off.
Mama?
And then they cut
Yeah, it's
to
during
the
the same
car.
sequence. What happens,
They cut
Josh?
the car again, and she's like hanging off the side.
That's weird.
Screaming
husband's
daddy
like-
at the top of her lungs.
Yeah, she's screaming daddy, but the husband goes, "Hey, my car!" Nothing about his wife.
Walks away, just goes, hoes ain't loyal. And that is like the bridging scene. So then we head back to Scotland. And this is like the shining... Queen did a ton of songs for the soundtrack, but as you guys put it, it was never released, right?
Yeah, no, not officially.
It sucks. Like, there's a version of what they're singing New York, New York, and you can't find it anywhere. And all of the uploads are just like splices from this movie, and it always sounds so shitty.
Even like the well-known songs in this movie, like the ones that were on the album, were like different mixes and different cuts of it. It's just like
these
a
were
lost
the worst
soundtrack.
Queen songs.
Oh, no
Dude,
way!
no way.
What are you talking
Not
about?
a fan.
That song
Shut
Mikey
your
was singing
mouth.
is too good. What was it? Not Mikey. Stevie was singing. It was good.
Who Wants to Live Forever?
Yeah.
I was
And
not a
even-
fan. I thought the music was ill-placed in this
I
movie.
love
Okay,
Masters of the
Josh.
Universe.
Then you get to describe one of my
Yeah, the
favorite
music
parts of the
was
movie.
good,
Let's
but
go
I
back to
agree.
Old Heather.
It doesn't fit.
Okay.
What's going down with Old Heather? And also Queen on top of it sounds beautiful.
Yeah.
I honestly, Old Heather.
Okay, we cut back to Scotland, and there's a kind of this montage of Connor and Heather like growing throughout their romance, young and in love.
Wait, is this when she suddenly gets super old?
Yeah, with Queen blaring in the background.
They put on a white wig and lay her down in bed, and she's, "Oh, I'm old." It's so funny.
That's how old people age.
understood why you never aged.
That's what she says. We looked
Because
it up.
I'm immortal, dummy. We already went over this.
That would have been a way better line, though. You guys must admit that.
I'm sure she asked him that before.
Well,
I've always wondered.
that's why I thought it was so crazy.
We
That's why I
live in
wrote
the
it my
middle of
notes.
nowhere, but it could never come up.
Yeah, so Who Wants to Live Forever is like the shining light song of this movie, even though Josh hates it for some odd reason. It's a great
Even if they're
song.
not the best Queen songs, a bad Queen song beats 95% of all music.
Yeah.
This is also true.
So epic.
So we cut back to New York, and Connor is falling in love with sword expert Brenda. And they have like a pretty steamy sex scene, even though in the dark. Did you guys see Bags?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And he's also like biting her nips. I mean, it was pretty steamy.
All we talk about is bags.
All we talk about is Bags. That's all we're known for. And
I mean, not you guys saying Bags, but I thought this scene was pretty horrible. Like,
what?
Their build-up in relationship ends with him admitting to her that he's immortal, and she just instantly starts kissing him.
Well, after she stabs him.
Yeah,
in his
I made a joke like nothing turns me on like a stabbing.
Then they have sex, and the very next scene they cut to is him saying, "I can't stick around, babe."
Yeah, they're at the zoo, and he's like,
that was weird.
nope.
Also, that could have just been the really bad editing.
It's pretty awful.
It's just like the next thing they do is go to the zoo. Like, of course,
Like six,
the next
they
day.
didn't even like have a cuddle scene where he's like, "Sorry, it's not going to work out." It's just like they've both showered and they've gotten dressed and they just at the zoo. Just, babe, this ain't going to work out. Yeah, it's kind of weird. Seems like 6 minutes was cut out.
Yeah, I think a lot of this movie seems like 6 minutes were cut out.
And it's a 2-hour movie.
Nicely done, yeah.
So, after they break up, the Kurgan kidnaps sweet sword expert Brenda. And I thought this scene was awesome when they're in the taxi and he's just going nuts. Anyone else love this scene?
Car scenes, so they're boring.
Oh, I forgot, Brett, you don't like car scenes, do you?
Car chases. I mean, it was all right. It was all right.
Brett, do you like it when cars
anybody else want to comment about the lighting in her house?
How it was like a horror movie?
What about it?
The red lights and the neon green lights.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, having my notes that it's the best lighting since Dark Forest.
It's lit like a horror movie.
That's high praise.
Hey,
First of all, when you see the Kurgan, wouldn't you run immediately downstairs back to your car?
She would just want to go to the apartment.
Yeah.
It's her safe house.
She thought she was safe when she was in.
And then she got in there. She was like, "Woo, that was close."
A
Like,
7-foot psycho with a sword.
She literally she, like, presses her keys against the door and then like bangs on it, going, "Come on, come on! Why won't it open? What are you doing?"
Those New York locks, dude. They're tough.
So she's so scared and freaked out by this dude's driving, she passes out. And then we end up at, what was that studio called?
That's understating it, though. Like, he was trying to basically get killed, right? Because he can't die, and she can. It's like Death Proof, the movie.
Ugh, terrible.
Yeah, not great.
Hate that movie.
It's not the worst. I don't think it's worth hating.
No, it's the worst ending ever. Silver Cup Studios, by the way.
Silver Cup Studios in Queens, New York. And she's like tied up against, she's tied up there. And that's when Connor McLeod, our hero, shows up. Did anyone else love this sword fight?
It was pretty good, yeah.
This is a great sword fight, especially with
it was
like,
cool. Yeah,
with like the sound
around.
stages, and I just thought it looked awesome.
Did you think the campy line was really out of place?
Which campy line?
What took you so long?
What kept you?
Oh.
You know, when she saves him, I just felt like that seemed really out of place. Like, it was not a campy movie. It was not like a funny movie.
This
It was
is a
not
very
a campy movie?
Not a campy movie?
No, okay, it's stupid. I just meant like it's not like Batman where he's like, time to melt some ice or whatever that terrible Batman and Robin movie is, like with puns and stuff.
I think that was
definitely
Forever.
campy. I meant like, it's definitely fourth because it was either way because it was Mr. Freeze. But I chose the wrong word. I just meant like it wasn't like quippy.
I thought it was just right for this movie.
Yeah, I mean, it was okay. Yeah, all right.
What were you going to say, Mikey?
No, I was just questioning Brett's use of the word campy.
Oh.
But
Yeah,
like
it
you
was
said,
wrong. I used the wrong word for sure.
Yeah, they have this epic battle where, what is it? Water tower breaks. He's cutting down the letters from Silver Cup Studios. They
So
fall
awesome.
40 feet through, like, pretty much into an empty warehouse. And this is where I thought the camera work was the best out of the whole movie.
Yeah, it was good. That's what I thought you were talking about earlier. That was good.
Yeah, this is some great camera work, some long tracking shots, and everything's centered, and it's not close up and cheesy. It looks like it was really well planned for this movie. I feel like all the time and effort went into this scene.
Yeah.
And you're right, though, because this is where she shows up to save Connor, and he's like, "What took you so long?" And
Yeah.
the bad English that he learned and kind of grew into.
Yeah.
And they have this fight. Connor gets Super Saiyan strength and ends up killing the Kurgan, beheading him. And miraculous CGI starts flying all over the screen. What was the prize? Were they just demons?
No, knowledge. It's knowledge.
He knows everything. He is everything.
He is
And
everything.
he gets to die.
it looked like Raiders of the Last Ark when they open up the Ark at the end.
Oh, he's beautiful. Yeah.
I think the prize is like this weird mix of Nirvana, and he finally gets to like move on because they mentioned he's not immortal anymore.
No, he can do both.
If you read though, it says it's like the power, and if the Kurgan would have gotten it, he said he can like get
He
in
can
other
read
people's minds.
minds.
But he said he would have used it to enslave people, so you like literally can do whatever you want with anybody you want. But since Connor was a good person, that was good. Mankind was saved.
To your point, Josh, he can do both. He can render himself human and go back into immortal.
Why would he do that?
To have kids.
He can see inside the minds of
Because
diplomats
the immortals can't have children.
and governors.
Well, that's
And
another
help them
rule.
understand each other.
Yeah,
The
another rule.
mythos of Highlander.
So much mythos of Highlander. But yeah, we end
I
up...
like that they had to have Sean Connery say all this because the English was just too poor.
Sean Connery as Juan Ramirez telling us the rules. So we end up, the end of the movie, you end up back in Scotland, where instead of terrible battles look like they were filmed at a landfill, we have roads and cars, and them just making out on top of a mountain. And that is the end of Highlander. Anybody have anything else to say?
Can I read one sentence from IMDb that cracked me up?
Please.
Mm-hmm. It says, the opening voiceover by Sean Connery has an echo effect because it was recorded in the bathroom of a Spanish villa where he had been working with a voice coach in order to perfect the Spanish accent he used in the film.
Perfect.
He sounded like James Bond.
I was like, he sounds the same in every movie. I thought they just gave up on that. For him to think he was perfecting a Spanish accent
in Spain.
I like how the movie about a Scottish hero has Sean Connery in it, and he's not even allowed to be a Scottish person.
Yeah, it's not Sean Connery.
Is that a goof? Is that are they that has to be a joke, right? Like an inside joke?
It must be. Yeah, because that's what it said.
He got paid the most, and he had the least amount of work. He only filmed for a week. He got paid $1 million.
$1 million. That's nuts. He got
$1 million? Holy shit!
For being in
the
film
movie
for 10 minutes.
for 10 minutes.
He adds so much gravitas, though.
Yeah.
One of the plot lines that we didn't touch on at all that I actually think might be a little well written and kind of touching is the storyline of his assistant Rachel.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I forgot about that.
It's kind of like a comic book. He saves her from a Nazi, and now she's like his Alfred kind of and his secretary. And there's never been like a romantic relationship, so she's actually one of the only female characters
that he's close to.
He doesn't bang.
Yeah, not a sex object.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm.
I totally missed that. He raised her as a daughter. Totally forgot about that part.
I spaced out on that so bad, and Brittany goes, she looks pretty young for someone who was in a Nazi camp. I go, what are you talking about? Because that's the girl she saved. I was like, that's the girl he saved. I was like, oh, yeah, that's a big blunder on my part.
And then he abandons her.
Yeah,
to never see her again.
She's fine. She's got the antique store.
I'm sure she's doing okay.
I thought he had the coolest department.
Because he was going to die again, and he gave her power of attorney.
Magic. Yeah, it was kind of a weird.
Yeah, he was going to die again, then he's like, you're going to inherit all my stuff.
It kind of reminds me of what they're doing with the new Wonder Woman movies, where you kind of have this immortal superhero, but they're going through time.
So you're saying that Wonder Woman is borrowing from the cult classic Highlander?
No. Well, I don't know. I'm not saying anything.
Gosh, isn't there some scene we didn't bring up that you wanted to mention? We kind of skated over that a little bit.
No, I don't want to dwell on it like the
there
guys
was a
do,
rape,
so. And
I totally forgot it was in this movie.
But it was kind of important because he got super mad and he actually went after the Kurg. Not exactly, but he was like, "I'll be waiting for you outside."
Yeah, it was off camera though. At least they had the decency to do that, unlike Pulp Fiction, Ducky Sucker, and Nocturnal
But the
Animals.
implication.
Those were all
there was an implication.
Idiots.
The implication.
The Evil Dead is the only one that's on screen, and that's your movie, Pat. So get out,
Stevie. How does Highlander 2 work out with Sean Connery?
Oh God, he comes back.
Do you want to hear the honest truth?
Christopher Lambert.
I refuse to watch it.
Christopher Lambert convinced Sean Connery to come back.
That the reason he's back in the movie is they say in the movie that his soul bounced off a spaceship and then came back to Earth.
Oh my God!
Do you know it's got a higher Metascore than the first one? How is that possible? It's considered one of the worst movies of all time.
Because people watch it and have fun.
Why would Stevie refuse? It's going to be a dirge on this movie's memory.
It's called The Quickening. It's got to be good.
I love this movie, Josh.
Maybe someone will pull a Jordan if they win trivia and just go Highlander 2.
Next week, Highlander 2.
God. All right, let's get into yes or no's.
I got a question, though, regarding logistics of Highlander. Could you just, shoot someone's head off, across the neck, decapitate them with a pistol?
I'm sure you could.
Or does it have to be a sword? Any decapitation? What if a guy just gets
that is a good question.
decapitated in a car accident?
Yeah, I like that. Does it have to be a sword? Yeah, I like that.
A lot of questions surrounding Highlander.
I just don't get some of the injuries. Some of the injuries they get are debilitating to them, and there's But like when the Kurgan
he's
gets
just
shot,
walking through stuff.
he's just like, nah.
He has
It
all
still
the
hurts,
power.
though, right?
That's
Like,
true.
yeah.
And if you the
I guess
novelization said
that's
that
true.
he just went and he was just straight slaughtering other Highlanders his whole life.
Did you just reference the novelization?
Yeah, I was reading fast. He used to hang out with Attila the Hun, and he just would slaughter people and the Vikings and stuff.
That shit's funny. Dude, I'm telling you, this is a rich
tapestry of
yeah. This is a fertile ground to
storytelling.
till. This franchise. Remake Highlander.
Oh, who should play the Kirk?
The guy from No Country.
Tom Hardy? He'd be a good Kurgan.
All right, remake it.
No, the guy from Old
No.
Country. What's his name? Andre.
Antoine Chigurh.
Javier Bardem.
Yeah.
Bardem.
Sigur.
Who played
He's too
Loki?
old.
Tom
Who played what?
Hiddleston.
Tom Hiddleston might be able to pull it off.
He's
Ooh.
not big enough, though.
Yeah, you have to be big.
You gotta be big.
Maybe Ben
They could go
Affleck
with,
from Mallrats?
They could go with like Kane.
Vinny Jones.
What about Jose Batista?
Oh, Batista would be an awesome Kurgan.
Dave Batista.
Whatever.
The
I don't
Rock.
care. I know, I'm talking about the baseball player.
The Rock would
yeah,
be a
he's
good
big, he's big
Kurgan.
too.
No.
The Rock would be good, but
Could be a good Connor.
Dave Batista. Yeah, that's what I meant.
He has to be bad at English. Yes
I
or
think
no?
Ryan Johnson should direct.
You keep trying to get into him.
I'm trying.
I know, sorry.
Let's start with Josh. I feel like he's going to give this movie a no.
I guarantee you he does.
Oh, I guarantee you he does.
Payback.
This movie's pretty awful. I am honestly still mad at you guys for treating all my favorite movies with such disrespect and trying to make me out to be a horrible person on every podcast.
We try.
But
Writes itself.
I will say this. I'll give this a yes only if you have a 2 times like fast forward button on the player when you're watching this, because you got to get through some scenes quickly.
Yeah.
Movie drags quite a bit, and I'm really getting sick of these campy 80s movies, to be honest. So
Get
I'm
out
so
of here.
torn.
I'm getting sick of 90s Gen X movies.
Grungy Gen X movies.
I'm getting sick of
I did
movies.
choose Los Enchiladas and Mallrats within like 2 months of each other. I get it. It's too much for you guys. But we can do like a puppet 80s movie every 2 weeks.
Yeah, that's cool.
Anyway, I'll give it a soft yes, because I don't want my bitterness to influence my pick. Because I like to watch movies of all kinds, and I don't like to discriminate against older people.
I'm trying not to be an ageist, Josh, alright? Trying not to be. Let's go with Mikey.
If Josh is going to be a soft yes, I'll be the soft no. I think this movie. I think this movie is really bad, and it's really long. There's probably like 45 minutes worth of like really funny stuff to watch. That's really bad and hilarious, which you could probably just watch on YouTube. But it does some interesting stuff with the camera, so I'll give it that. But it's also edited really terribly. The jumping back and forth from New York and Scotland was not great to watch. So that really hurt the movie, I think.
Mikey, now that you've given your no, I read one tidbit that I thought you would really like. When they were sword fighting, the sparks weren't always CGI. Sometimes it was because they were actual sparks, because they had like car batteries wired through their clothes.
Oh my god!
Weren't they around water too? Like,
yeah.
How did Sean Connery not die in this movie?
Man doesn't care about anybody.
This was like the big scene at the end. Yeah, they both had car batteries, and one had a positive and negative. So every time their swords touched, a spark happened.
Oh my god!
Insane.
It's amazing nobody died on any Kanan film. Actually, we'd have to
You don't
check
know that for sure.
we'd have to check that.
If they did, they covered it up.
Covered it up.
Yeah.
But it's a no from me.
Lame. Let's go with Brett.
I think that guy from Bloodsport died who got his balls exploded. But
Oh, he's dead.
man, when Josh said yes, I thought it was almost guaranteed that this would be preserved. But Mikey came through. So since Mikey said no, I'll give this a soft yes. Yeah. This movie can be summed up with a few things. One, Christopher Lambert just learned how to speak English.
It's fantastic.
Stevie saying, whoever said it looked like 6 minutes were taken off of a lot of different scenes. I mean, that pretty much sums it up. And just the fact that Clancy Brown is just like vomit-inducing the entire movie. This is definitely in the category of so bad it's good, but yeah, it's terrible. But I give it a soft yes. Soft yes.
Paps.
Oh yeah, this is a yes for me. This is like a -10 on the scale. it gets to that place that only like truly horrible films do, where I'm watching it and I like have no idea what could happen next. Like anything's in play when you're watching like a movie this bad, and it's such a exciting feeling to be in that moment. Yeah. So I had a lot of fun with it, and there are
Highlander gave you a rush.
There are some like, I mean that's the difference between something like this and like the holiday special, right? The holiday special is boring. This is so wacky and crazy that it's not. So yes for me, hard yes. And shout out to the cop who's also in The Big Lebowski. That's the only thing we didn't mention. The only thing.
You should check his IMDb. You should check his IMDb page. He's like the definition of like a Hollywood grinder, man.
Who is he in Big Lebowski, Pat?
He's the PI in Big Lebowski who like follows Lebowski.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Is he the one that throws a coffee mug at his face?
We should work together.
That's the Malibu. I'll give this movie a raging Highlander yes. I love this movie. It's so campy, and you guys are right. Like, it's one of those movies where it's so bad, but it's so much fun to watch. It's just one of those movies where it's like, wow, this is just enjoyable. Chris Lambert learning English is definitely one of the, like, just learning English is one of the better parts of this movie. Because you're sitting on every pin going, what's he going to say next and how bad's it going to be?
It's nice to see an immigrant succeed in America during this movie.
Okay. What?
I love this movie. So yeah, definite yes. Kind of pissed at Mikey for not preserving it, but that's life. So, who is ready for trivia?
Yes.
Yes.
You're tearing me apart, Brenda. Wish you would have said that.
Well done, Brett.
Well done, sir.
Stick around till after the credits to hear Brett say that over and over and over again.
So, pencils down, eyes off your computer screens.
What?
Exactly. We're going to go into trivia, and this has to
At
do
least
with...
we don't have to do it for the whole episode this time.
Exactly. We're going to talk about Clancy Brown, who played the Kurgan. He plays the famous lobster Mr. Krabs in SpongeBob SquarePants. How many episodes has he appeared as Mr. Krabs?
Oh, man.
So the order on this, if we're going most recent host to longest time host, Josh hosted the last episode, Nocturnal Animals. Then I think it's me, but Stevie, you would have snuck in there, but it's me with Labyrinth. Then Mikey with Breakfast Club, and then we have to go 6 months back to around Christmas time when Brett hosted My Cousin Vinny.
So, just closest to. You can go over just closest to.
Jump into Jehoshaphat, matey.
And if you guys want to do the math, SpongeBob SquarePants has been on since 1999.
How does that help with the math?
Well, if you can do the episodes per season...
Man. I already had the math down.
There you go.
How many episodes per season are there?
Don't
Typically, you know what? You should just know that already,
You
Josh.
should know that.
In a cartoon, though?
It's the same as a sitcom, man.
Why is Josh stalling?
I will say 139 eps.
Going with the Queen song. Alrighty. Who's next?
I'm going to go with 180 episodes.
180 for the Paps. Mikey.
I'm gonna go 250.
250.
What was Josh's?
139.
I'm the last one.
39. You're the last
251.
one. Oh. There have been a total of 233 episodes.
Are you fucking kidding me?
Of SpongeBob SquarePants. Hold on. Of SpongeBob.
Oh.
Episodes in which Mr. Krabs appears.
But it's Josh.
Is 208 episodes.
What?
Pappy, you have won.
I won?
You
Yay.
won.
By the way, Stevie,
You're only 28
a standard
I was angry. I
sitcom
didn't
is 22 to
understand.
24 episodes.
Right.
But cartoons are different, right?
20
Yeah.
times 24
Does
is 400.
a cartoon count? But I think a cartoon is 2 episodes in a 20-minute thing.
Correct.
So they have a
They did
shit
2
ton.
15-minute
Yeah, I
episodes.
thought I had that. See you guys next Christmas.
All right, let's toss it to Spoiler
This
Man.
wasn't a spoilers, man, so Pappy can decide what movie he's going to pick.
Like Spoilers Podcast on Facebook. You can now check us out on Spotify, YouTube, Stitcher, and Google Podcasts. Our email is podcastspoilers@gmail.com. Twitter is @spoilers_pod. Our Instagram is podcastspoilers. It's lit. Josh Hensley from the Rutabaga wrote our theme. Our number is 903-776-4507. Please support this podcast by leaving us an iTunes review searching for Spoilers Movies, clicking on the Spoilers Bowl, then scrolling all the way to the bottom and leaving us some stars and comments.
Man.
See you next Christmas.
See you next Christmas. See you next Wednesday.
My next movie will be My Cousin Vinny 2 whenever that comes out.
Oh, Paps, you ready?
Yep.
And we're back. Pappy, what do you got for us?
Well, as long summer closes here on another season of Spoilers, I hope everyone got to spend some time with their family. It's been a year, Brett, since you've been on the podcast, and your first episode was Castle in the Sky. I want to keep the summer Spoilers tradition going with another Studio Ghibli Miyazaki film, but we're going to go with his Academy Award-winning, probably best well-known film, Spirited Away.
I've never seen it. I always wanted to see it.
There you go. On the Sight Sound 250, pretty much every list of best films ever that's out there. So
Sweet. Dude, I thought you were going to give it... I thought you were going to give me the episode.
Jordan Long, hard no.
Man, Pappy, I misread that early speech of yours so bad. I thought you were going to be like, since Brett's been on a year and since he hasn't hosted in a while, I'm going to let Brett pick. But
yeah, that's never ever
gonna
happen.
No.
Well, thank you for listening to this episode of Spoilers Spoiling Highlander. If you haven't seen it, hopefully we've convinced you guys to go watch it. If you have, all right.
Do you think Joe would have said yes or no?
Joe would give this a hard no.
I'm 1,000% sure.
Yeah, Jordan. Yeah, doesn't like.
Yeah.
Jordan, if you're still listening, prove it to us and tell us in the thread what you would have said. Because I doubt
He literally
that you
he does not have time in a week to watch an hour and 45-minute long movie. Like, what does he do?
I think that Jordan, we have to have a guy on the pod that doesn't like movies.
Jordan, before the podcast, has seen 6 movies in his life.
Oh my god. Oh. And mostly it was just the same Mallrats flea market
Young
scene
Guns
over
was
and over.
5 of them.
Just the first half of Mallrats up until the flea market. And
Young
that's
Guns was 5 of them, and then he saw The Departed. Those were the 6 movies he's seen.
That
Dang.
was
Spoilers.
Roasted.
Boom, roasted.
I love you, brother.
Tearing me apart, Brenda.